Sat Sri Akal, everyone. Welcome back to the Crypto Khalsa. And today we have Brantly from the Ethereum's Follow Protocol. Great to have you on the show, Brantly. Thank you for taking out your precious time. And we'll be discussing more about what you have built and about you as well.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. So, why don't we start with your introduction? Can you introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your background before founding Ethfollow?
Yes, so I am Brandon.eth. Previously, I was the director of the ENS core team for a couple years back in the day. Ethereum name service. I also am the creator of Sign In with Ethereum, which is an authentication standard for authenticating with an Ethereum account. And then recently, we launched Ethereum Follow Protocol, which is an on-chain social graph protocol for Ethereum accounts meant to complement ENS. And that launched just about 2 months ago.
Awesome. For the listeners who may be unfamiliar, what exactly is Ethfollow and what problem does it aim to solve in the Ethereum ecosystem?
So actually, the idea for it goes back to 2021 when I was working on ENS. So ENS was intended to be like a naming system for decentralized websites and maybe for payments. But I realized in 2021 that it was really sort of like a username system, username and profile system. And we had not really thought of it in those terms for the first couple of years, but we realized that in 2021. And so I started to have this vision of, okay, the way we do identity on Ethereum is not going to be that somebody has a super app that somehow does everything with identity that we want to do. I think that's actually, that doesn't work for because it's too hard. It's too many hard problems to solve. Instead, the path is each of the elements of the Ethereum identity stack are separate protocols. So it's like, well, if ENS is the username and profile system, if Sign with Ethereum is the authentication standard, one major missing piece is a social graph. The social graph is who is connected to who knows who. Okay. And so that was something we needed. And a benefit of having each element of the Ethereum identity stack be a separate protocol with a separate team building it is that if at any point that it's not an all or nothing proposition, it's not like, if at any point you don't like one element, you can launch a competitor to that one element, but you don't have to attack all the rest of the elements. Well, let's say Ethereum Follow Protocol fails, ENS still exists. Like, right, it's not an all or nothing thing. So I think that actually makes the Ethereum identity stack a lot more robust. So that's sort of where Ethereum Follow Protocol came from.
And what exactly inspired you to create Ethfollow? How did this idea exactly came about? Can you talk about
Yeah.
the inspiration?
Yeah. So, I mean, I've been thinking about it, like I said, since 2021. And in early 2023, I had a friend who kind of brought it back up to me, this idea. And, there have been some other things that could be considered like Web3 social, that have social graph components, so Lens and Farcaster, that have had some success. Farcaster in particular, has had a lot of success in the last year. But they weren't doing it, I guess, in the way that I think they should be done in the Web3 way. So, those are both, they're Twitter clones, they're full vertically integrated, full stack replacements. They have their own naming system, profile system. They have posting. So they have all these systems and they have their own authentication standards. I mean, they're kind of their own kind of like siloed systems a little bit. And that's fine, I think, for what they're trying to do. But to me, that isn't really the Web3 identity social future that I'm like, to me, that I'm building towards. So I thought, okay, well, we still need this social graph component that I had been thinking about. So in 2023, I kind of started working on it. And in late 2023 and early 2024, got some funding from the ENS DAO and have a team. And like I said, we just launched 2 months ago. Yeah.
Let's talk more about the platform that you guys have created. In a nutshell, What are the main features of Ethfollow and how do they really benefit users?
Yeah, so this can be confusing to people because I think most people they have in their mind some sort of like a Twitter clone or Instagram clone or something like that in their mind. And EFP is actually a lot more fundamental than that. So um, I'll explain it. It's just the social graph component. That is all that EFP itself does. So it allows for Ethereum accounts to follow or unfollow other Ethereum accounts. You can also tag or untag. So you can also do arbitrary tags on your follows. So you can kind of like categorize them if you want. That's a really powerful feature of EFP. And on the protocol level, that is the only thing that Ethereum Follow Protocol, it's exactly what the name says, Ethereum Follow Protocol for Ethereum accounts following each other. That's it. And the assumption is that this will be combined with other things so that like, oh, you want like a username and profile system? You should be using ENS. We already have that. There it is, right? You need to have people authenticate to your system. We've got signed with Ethereum. It's already there, right? These are composable pieces. Uh, People say, well, do you like post on EFP? You don't post on EFP, right? You just follow. Somebody could build a Twitter clone or a social media feed or something with posting that uses EFP for the social graph component if they wanted to. But I would also say that social graphs have use far beyond just posting. So let me back up a little bit. An easy mistake that all of us make, I make, all humans make, is when there's new technology, we always think, well, what are we doing with the old technology? And we're just going to keep doing that with the new technology. And we probably will, but it's actually like with the new technology, often there's new types of things you're doing. So you have to sort of like expand your mind a little bit. Okay. And social graph to me is not just about feeds, because yeah, you can have a posting feed. Also on our website, you'll see work with interface to have an on-chain activity feed, which is really powerful, really useful. But it's actually more fundamental than that. I think the main use case of a social graph is telling you more information about who that Ethereum account is by telling them how do they relate to other people. So seriously, let's say I'm on an NFT marketplace and somebody's selling an NFT and I want to know who is that person selling that NFT? Okay, right? Well, I could look up their ENS name, their profile. I could look up their on-chain history, their activity. I could try to triangulate who they are, right? Get information about them. Well, if I can also see, I follow this person actually, or they follow me, or these people who are my friends, these are my friends follow them, or I have them tagged a certain way already, or something like that. That is really, really useful information about who this person is. Another example I like to give is, let's say I'm on Twitter and my notifications, I get a notification that says, Vitalis followed me. Wow, that'd be amazing news, right? Like I'm finally getting the recognition I deserve. Okay, but then I click on his profile and wait, he only has 10 followers. Wait, none of my followers follow him. I don't follow him. What does that tell me? It tells me it's not the real Vitalis. So here's the interesting thing. I can get an ENS name that looks like someone else's name. I can set up my profile and I could even get a bunch of bots to follow me. I could make myself a lot of followers. Okay. I could follow a lot of people. Something though that I cannot fake. It is impossible for me to fake. I cannot get other real people to follow me. So if I'm like, so you could apply this wallets. Let's say I'm going to send crypto to somebody and it could bring up and like, what is your connection to this person in the social graph? Again, if I have no connection to them, to me, that might be suspicious. Like, wait, did I like put in something wrong? This might be a mistake. Whereas if I am connected to them, like friends of friends or something like, okay, yeah, this is the right person. That's who I'm intending.
So let's walk through on how the Ethfollow protocol really works on the technology level. How does it really track Ethereum addresses and activities?
Yes. So the first thing you kind of have to do on a protocol technical level, some of this is massaged in our user interface, but on a technical level, is you go to base, and on base, you mint an EFP NFT. It's called like, and you get like a list number, and this NFT represents your list, and the numbers just go up from zero, just go up in the order that you mint them. So I think we're now like pretty high up. You see what we're at? We're at Yeah, almost 33,000 now. And with that NFT, the main thing I do with it is I specify my list storage location. And what this is, I say, here's where I'm going to store my list records. And so I can, right now, you can pick to store them also on Base if you want to. You can store them on OP mainnet, or you can store them on Ethereum L1. We support these three different locations. We'll expand them in the future to other L2s and things like that. So you specify that, then you go to that place and you can store your records at that place. And um, you store records as, like I said, you can follow someone, unfollow, you can tag, you can untag. So there's 4 types of actions you can do. And you basically can store that information in that location.
So is it chain agnostic, or like do you specifically suppose if a user has followed you on Base, um, is he going to be following you on Optimism or Ethereum as well? Is it like it doesn't really matter which chain you choose, and is it kind of using chain abstraction in that case, or you have to be working on a chain particularly?
Good question. So you don't follow someone necessarily on a chain. The chain you're choosing is just where you're storing the information. So it's actually irrelevant what chain you're using, but what you're following is a particular EVM address,
Okay.
period. Yeah. So like right now, my EVM address is the same on Ethereum, Base, OP mainnet, Arbiter. It's all exactly the same because they use the same addressing scheme. So you're not following people on a chain. That's just where you're storing information. You're following a particular address.
Okay. And how does Ethfollow ensure that the data users are getting is accurate and reliable?
Well, so all EFP data is stored on chain. Um, now to which means that anybody can look at this information on chain and pull it and interpret it however they'd like. And so the fact that we store the information on a blockchain is how we ensure that the information is accurate.
And how do you see Ethfollow fitting into the larger Ethereum ecosystem and the wider blockchain space over the next few years?
Yeah, so my hope is that it grows to be a standard element, or primitive of the Ethereum identity stack, similar to like how ENS is, kind of at that level. Um, and I'd say a big way we're going to get there is EFP is not just supposed to be using our user interface; it's supposed to be integrated into other people's apps. Like I mentioned, it could be wallets or marketplaces or this or that, right? So right now, I believe we have like 22 integrations, which is great. But we need to be like in 100 and 500, 1,000. We need to be in as many as possible. So the two main areas of growth that we're really focused on, like the two major metrics, are number of users. And right now we're at like, I think we're over 15,000, which I think is pretty good for launching 2 months ago. And then integrations, I guess that I think we're at 22, and we need to get, both of those numbers need to go up a lot.
And how do you think platforms like Ethfollow contribute to the adoption and understanding of the blockchain technology?
Well, I think hopefully it can expand people's mind about what an Ethereum account is. So historically, Ethereum accounts and really crypto accounts in general, they were right. We call them wallets. Um, and the idea is that, like, well, you're holding your crypto, you're holding your money. Okay. And crypto is that, but I've been arguing now for several years, and I hope this will win the day. Your crypto is not just your money or what you own; it's also like who you are. It's like your account for the new and Web3 internet that we're building. And so, actually, and the wallets analogy actually goes well with that, because what do we store in our wallets? Yes, we store money, cash and credit cards in our wallets, but we also store our driver's license or ID card, other identification. So I think we should be thinking of your wallet as your crypto-like account that not only can have crypto and do DeFi, but can also has a username and profile and has connections and is followed by other people and things like that.
Okay. Um, Let's now talk about a bit of the challenges that you faced while you were developing this protocol. Could you highlight us some of the challenges, some of the problems that you actually faced and you solved while you were developing this?
Yeah, I say one of the biggest problems is that the way we've designed EFT is we're wanting this to be a new protocol like of the internet, like ENS. Like we're in this for the long haul. This is not just like an app that's going to flare up and go away. Hopefully not. I mean, it might, but that's not what we're trying to do. And we want it to be like ENS, where this lasts a long, long, long time, decades. And so we're really building it in a fundamental way that we think will make sense for the long term. It also means this needs to be credibly neutral. It means that we can't just be putting in like fees for no reason and things like this. This needs to be a public good. And so one big problem is right now, UFP, for example, doesn't make any money. There's no fees, there's nothing. So yeah, but we need funding to like pay for a team, right? So how do we get money to build a protocol that doesn't make money? Well, that's a problem. And we didn't want to take venture capital because again, it means that private interests are now going to be kind of pressuring you to design this a certain way, and we don't want that. So how do we get money? This has been an issue. We're very grateful that we've been able to get a good amount of money from the ENS DAO. So the ENS community has been a major supporter of this. Many people there see this as a protocol that complements and strengthens ENS in its place in the Ethereum identity stack. And so we have been able to get money from that, but that has been a hard challenge. Funding public goods is hard.
When you introduced me to Ethfollow, one of the key things that I really liked about it was its user friendliness. So let's discuss about how user friendly is Ethfollow for someone very new to Ethereum or the blockchain technology, if you could highlight.
Well, so you at least need base ETH. So you need an Ethereum wallet and you need base ETH. Those are going to be the biggest hurdles for any user if you knew nothing about crypto, you would need to figure out to get a crypto wallet and to somehow get base ETH into it. Once you have that, I think it's pretty easy to use. I think your user interface is pretty straightforward. I will say there is a debate in the crypto industry about how easy should we make crypto, in the sense of like, should we hide the blockchain or something like this? Some people say the users should just not even know they're using a blockchain. That's one side of the debate. The other debate is like, no, it matters like which blockchain they're using, and they need to learn and you need to force them. That's the other side. I'm in the latter category. I think it matters what blockchain you're using. Am I doing this on some dumb scam blockchain? Am I doing it on Ethereum? Am I doing it, like it matters. So one, I think we have a duty to expose to users, here's what's going on and what the trade-offs are. And also crypto is all about responsibility. I think, yes, it's self-sovereign, but the flip side of self-sovereign is that it's self-sovereign, like you're in charge. So you need to know what you're doing. You need to take responsibility for your crypto. And yes, that does make some friction for new users. I get it. But I'm a big believer in not simplifying it too much. So, for example, like we might do this in the future, but, could we like sponsor gas fees for people, or make it where you sign once and then you don't ever have to sign again in our app, things like that. Well, we might offer that in the future, but we didn't start there because we were like, we want people to understand what is happening here and take responsibility for their on-chain activity.
So something like gas rewards or following the intent protocol would be the next steps for you as a product.
I mean, we're thinking about it. We'll see.
Okay. What's the most interesting or unique use case you've seen so far for Ethfollow?
I mean, the use cases are pretty much what I expect. So they're just giving more information in a profile about who somebody is, like showing your connection to them. There's an on-chain activity feed, like with a interface. There could also be things like your message contacts or like inbox filtering. I mean, things like this. So pretty much what I expect. I think the use case of just giving more information about who this Ethereum account is and its connection to you I think that is actually really, really revolutionary. And that is something that all crypto apps could implement in some way. There's no crypto app that doesn't apply to. And I hope to see, all crypto apps use that in some way. Again, I think the key thing is that people have to open their mind of just because you're not a social app with a feed doesn't mean that you couldn't make use of a social graph.
And how do you really envision the platform evolving in terms of user engagement and the functionality?
I mean, the on a protocol level, some new features we've thought about that we may add at some point. So, for example, right now, let's say if I want to follow a group of Ethereum accounts, I have to like follow each of them manually. Okay. Um, but what if I wanted to follow everybody who owns a CryptoPunk? Okay. That would be technically possible because I just follow every owner, but that who owns it changes all the time. These people are trading and things like this, and it's just not practical to do. Okay. So we've had this idea of wouldn't it be great if I could just do one, basically have a new record type where I say, rather than I follow these addresses, I can say I follow this NFT collection, and that's just interpreted in the back end as anybody who owns this NFT I own, and that all that updating just happens automatically. So rather than doing thousands of list records, I just do one list record, or I automatically follow everybody in that NFT collection. That's one thing we've thought about.
And let's talk a bit about the community feedback that you've got so far, and how has it influenced the way you have developed the platform.
A lot of feedback's been very positive. I think people are excited about it. It's very early. So like I said, we have, 22 integrations. So, a lot of people are like, well, I went on your website, I followed all my friends, but like, now what? Like, what do I do now? Uh, and I would say, we do have those integrations, but we're working on more. So we want this to matter in more and more places. Eventually we want EFP just to be seamlessly integrated into everything. So you're not thinking like, oh, I have to go to the EFP web app and like do things. It's just you do it in all the apps you're already using. That's the goal eventually.
And let's talk a bit about privacy and security. So, how does Ethfollow address concerns concerning regarding the privacy and security, especially given that Ethereum is a public ledger?
So EFP doesn't do anything with privacy. It's not private. So privacy, the way I think about it is privacy is a hard problem on blockchains. And it's something we want eventually, but that we don't have figured out yet, really, totally. And we, but if we were waiting for privacy to be solved, we wouldn't have accomplished anything yet. So I think that's a mistake too. Some people say like, oh, we have to like solve privacy before we do things. And I'd say, well, it's like the meme of the person, like the skeleton waiting on the bench or something like this. Like it's been a while. You will have done nothing. And the expectation is that, zero knowledge proofs will, or is this like this pixie dust that we will sprinkle on everything in the future will somehow, something with ZK technology will somehow solve privacy in the future. And I hope so. But we're moving forward with the technology we have. And if it makes sense to be able to add in some sort of privacy features in the future as technology develops, of course, we'll do that.
Let's talk a bit about transparency. What role do you see Ethfollow playing in fostering transparency and trust within the decentralized finance and NFT spaces?
Well, I think it can help elucidate who different Ethereum accounts are. So one nice thing about EFP is it just uses Ethereum accounts. There are no like Ethereum Follow Protocol accounts. You just use Ethereum accounts. What this means is that I can follow you on EFP even if you've never used EFP. So let's say Zach XBT could be like, I'm going to tag all the scam accounts as scammer, scam, but there's no opt-in on their side. They don't have to opt in to use EFP. So he can just do that anyway. And he can put on chain publicly for everybody, avoid these accounts, right? This is a difference from like, for example, like Farcaster again, which makes sense with what they're trying to do. But like you can only follow someone on Farcaster if they're on Farcaster. with EFP, it's just Ethereum accounts. Uh, so so I mentioned we have about 15, 16,000 users so far. Another number that we track is number of addresses that touch EFP in any way. So this is people not only who have done following, but who have been followed. And that number is about twice as much. So it's almost 33,000 addresses. So, well, let's say about 15, 16,000 people have actively gone on EFP to follow people. Another 15,000 have been followed without having done anything on EFP yet. And that's actually, it's really good for that number to keep going up, because that number is the number of Ethereum accounts that have some sort of information about them in EFP. So some sort of signal about who they are and who are they connected to in EFP, because other people are following them, and that gives you some information about who they are. So again, eventually we want that number to be hundreds of thousands, millions, right now it's at about 33,000.
Okay. Let's talk a bit about your short-term and long-term goals at Ethfollow.
Yeah, I mean, the short and long-term goals are that we get more users and that we get more integrations, um, and that EFP becomes, a widely accepted basic identity primitive for the Ethereum ecosystem. That is our goal. And I hope, let's say 5 years from now that, I'm still working on EFP because it's had a lot of success and it's grown a ton, and we're, on the next phase of growth. One thing I do tell people is, I don't believe in continuing to work on projects that aren't going anywhere. So, I started working on this in 2023. It was kind of very slow going early on. Like I said, we just launched 2 months ago. And what I tell my team is, I'd say in about a year or two, it should be very clear to us, does this have some traction or not? And if it has some traction, great, let's keep working on it. We'll get more money. We'll expand the team. We're going to keep charging ahead. This is what we want. That means we have some sign that what we're working on is useful. If after a year or two from now, if there's really like no traction, it's stalled out, it's over, it's not growing anymore, to me, I'd say that, we try our best, but that's probably the end. Because I will say, I've been in crypto for a while, and there's a lot of like zombie projects out there that they somehow raised a huge amount of VC money, or they did a huge ICO, and, they have all this money, and they can go around to conferences for years and years and years talking about how, well, I've been working in this space for 5 years or 6 years, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, bro, no one uses your thing at all. So like, the longer you've worked on something and nobody uses it, that starts to be a negative signal, actually, like that you're really wasting your time. So, I don't believe in that. I don't want to do that. So, I want to give it a good effort, and we are working extremely hard. And I think we have some traction already.
And do you have any upcoming features or innovations in the pipeline that users can look forward to?
One big thing we want to work on next is notifications. So essentially, if you go to our web app right now, there's no easy way to know like who has followed me since the last time I was here, like who has tagged me. Or another feature we have is called My Top 8, where out of my, friends, I can pick 8 of them as my top 8 like feature on my profile. It's like MySpace back in the day. And I want to be able to see, all right, what activities happened towards me since I was last on the website. Right now, there's not an easy way to do that. I just have to look around and notice it or something. Better is we'd like to create a section of the website that has a feed of saying, in the last week, here's what has happened towards you. These people followed you. These people tagged you this way. This person added you to their top 8, things like that. So that's actually kind of a tricky thing to build, but that's something we want to be working on soon here.
We're just concluding this podcast with this last question that I would have for you. What advice would you give to someone interested in creating a new platform in the blockchain space?
It's really hard. Be prepared to work hard. don't sell out and don't sacrifice your principles. Many people in this industry, I understand why they do it. It's very human, but I think they're making a mistake. They sacrifice their social capital for apparent short-term financial gain. And it's that get rich quick mentality. I get it. I want to get rich quick too. I mean, everybody does. The problem is, um, you've then sold your social capital, so you have sold your reputation and your legitimacy, and it's really hard to get that back. Number two, even if your goal is to make money and get rich, I actually think in most things and in crypto as well, most of the money is made actually in the long term. So if you play the long, it's like the curve that goes like, it's like increasing. Then there's like like an elbow in the curve. Most of the money is made on the tail end. And so if you're selling your reputation, which you can't get back, for short-term gain, now you don't have a reputation and you're actually probably not as rich as you could have been. Whereas if you stick to your principles, you can keep in fact, your reputation can increase with time and you can get most of the gain, which is on the tail end.
That's a great advice, Brantley. And I think that's something that a lot of Gen Z creators would really want to understand, because everyone wants to get rich, but no one wants to get rich slowly. I think everyone wants to like get rich fast, and I think if we make a good plan and we stick to our principles, that's something that we can definitely get. And eventually, getting rich is the goal, but getting rich slowly is the right thing to do. And on that, Brantley, uh,
Yeah.
thank you for your time, man. It was an amazing podcast. Thank you for your time and
Yes.
for building your protocol and great stuff you guys are building. And hopefully we'll be meeting again once you have a million followers, a million users in your protocol soon. Thanks, man.